So, just thinking back to the previous lesson, we looked at some of the key information we should always surface when studying a new source. So, these are some of the details we went over for the Declaration of Independence. We also want to recall and think back to the why behind the document. In our previous lesson, we learned that Jefferson had an explicit job with the Declaration, and it was to explain to the world why the colonies were choosing to separate from Britain. So the letter, you can think of the Declaration as a communication to someone specifically. It wasn't just written for Great Britain in general, it was written for the world, and some would say that it was written really specifically for King George. Okay, so the DOI was written for Great Britain or England, the world, as we read it from the text, or King George III. And that excerpt that we just reviewed on the previous screen showed us that there was a purpose. It was to explain why the American colonists were separating from Great Britain. So pause, take a look at your notes, update them, and then come back to the video. Go ahead and press pause now. Now it's about time for us to start moving into the actual text, looking at the Declaration itself. We already talked a little bit about the author, Thomas Jefferson. We looked at front loading vocabulary, so some difficult words we were going to see in the text. We previewed them. And we did a little research about the time period so we kind of understand what Jefferson is going through and what he's thinking about as he's writing. The Declaration of Independence is a very high level text. It is a 1600 lexile or higher. So if you were going to use this chart to figure out where 1600 is, it shows you that it's a college level text. It's beyond 12th grade, which is college level. Okay? So keeping that in mind, we have to use as many reading strategies to help us understand the text as possible. So let's pause. Let's take that note. The lexile is 1600 plus, and the grade equivalent would be college level. These are some of the strategies or images you might have been used to seeing at Washington. These are all different reading strategies that help students understand text. This is the list we are going to navigate while we study the Declaration of Independence. We've studied the author, we've done some background research, we front-loaded vocabulary, and now we're going to jump right into analyzing the text structure. Okay? So that's where we're headed right now. Before we do that, go ahead and take a look at the list of during reading strategies on your handout and highlight two that you are going to be using to help you understand the DOI.